Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Shop Talk, hosted by the Triangle Area SQL Server Users Group. So tonight, this special edition of Shop Talk. It's actually not special for us. It's special for like everybody else who's not watching this because this is the week of Past Summit. This is the week of Microsoft Ignite. Both of them are really kicking off in the next day or two. So tonight, this is the Nothing is Happening edition of Shop Talk because all of the interesting stuff is going to happen in the next day or two. Meanwhile, I expect that a fair number of regular participants are not going to be hanging around this evening because they'll be in Seattle or they'll be somewhere else. And that's okay. Wherever you are, whenever you're watching, you might be watching this 4 years from now because you're some kind of mad lad who has to go and catch up on all of the back episodes of Shop Talk, which is technically possible, but I don't think I recommend it. This is more of a
In 4 years, Kevin. In 4 years, we'll be living like on Mars.
maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, the probability is maybe above zero. It's not. It's not really above zero. It's as infinitesimally close to zero as I can get. There'd have to be something dramatically game changing within 4 years to make that happen. So you're talking ancient aliens level.
I trust you over me.
Yeah. You're talking ancient aliens level of mad lad going on. So yes, good evening, as Mala says. Good evening to everybody not at a conference willing to hang out with us. Speaking of Mala, right over here we have the one and only Mala. How are you?
Getting by, Kevin. How are you?
I am well. And we also have one of, I think there's like 45 of them left. So an endangered species, the Mike Christiansens. How are you, Mike?
I'm well, yeah, and that is correct. In Denmark, there are many Mike Christensens. I'm the only one in the United States, apparently.
That we know of.
That's right.
All the rest of them are in his basement.
No. Well, I've done some Python coding to check.
And welcome in, Ben. Good to have you here, even though it is double conference week. We know that a lot of people are out at double conference week, so we've got a couple of items tonight. But just in case, this is your first time at Shop Talk for people who are watching, or if you do decide, I guess if you decide to watch this later, it doesn't help very much. But this is technically a chat-driven show. I say technically because technically it's also a my rant-driven show. And it's kind of a balance. It's a balance between derailments, rants, and questions from chat. So if you do have questions, technical questions, we can certainly talk about them. That's the whole idea. It's Shop Talk. It's kicking up our feet, giving a little technical discussion, and having a little bit of fun on a Monday evening, especially now that daylight savings time has officially passed us, which technically was 2 weeks ago. I promised that I would not give the rant, and I'm still not giving the rant. We are 2 episodes in post daylight savings time, still no rant, but it is very dark outside right now. So that's what we've got. Now,
that's correct. It is dark.
It is quite dark.
I am in my office.
Yeah, it looks dark in there. So let me share my screen because speaking of dark, we have SQL Server Management Studio 22 is now generally available. And I say speaking of dark because SSMS, one of the big features that people have been pushing for years is dark mode. And my response to dark mode is just turn on a light. That's kind of a thing that I do. But all that said, I know a lot of people do appreciate it. A lot of people do like it. And it was a big feature, I think it was 21 where dark mode sort of came in. 22 has improved the theming experience, and we'll actually talk about that a little bit. But I did want to say SQL Server Management Studio 22 is now generally available. We actually found out about this last Tuesday when Rob Farley did his presentation. SSMS 22 had come out literally that day, and Rob was already using it GA in production. I guess production being his laptop. But we did get a chance to see that. So you can download SSMS, of course. Link is in the link that I've posted in the chat. One thing to note is newer versions of SSMS are now based off of the Visual Studio, the most recent
Right.
Visual Studio shell, which is 64-bit. So you do have 64-bit SSMS. The UI has changed a little bit. The installation process has changed a little bit. The AI assistance is now using GitHub Copilot. And actually, there is an article that we might cover tonight on Shop Talk around that. And if I can dig it up, I know it was in Brent Ozar's newsletter. I also have it tabbed to go out to Curated SQL tomorrow. So if I can dig it up, I will post that as well. And it has to do with, oh, yeah, here it is from Ed Elliott. Yeah, so I will, in fact, cover it tonight, but we'll get to that in a moment. In the meantime, SSMS has some new, interesting features and functionality. Zooming results is great. One of the reasons that I landed so heavily on VS Code and Azure Data Studio, even in Windows, is SSMS never had the ability to zoom into results, and that's just annoying. There are a few other ideas and options and things that are in preview that are interesting. SQL Server updates that are interesting. So, all in all, pretty decent version of SSMS, it looks like. And of course, as always, do you need to upgrade SSMS today? No. You can use older versions of SSMS. I will say that you do want to tie SSMS kind of a minimum version to whatever version of SQL Server that you have. So you probably don't want to try to connect to SQL Server 2025 with your SSMS 18 installation that you've got hanging around, because let's be honest, a lot of people are probably still rocking SSMS 18.
No, chat, don't listen to him. So I had to download it because it won't let me upgrade beyond 21, right? Because it's not fully released.
No, it is fully released now.
But it says I'm at 21.6.17, last updated 10.15. So I have to re-download it, right?
Yes. Every version of SSMS since, I think it was about 17 or 18, but every version of SSMS is now a standalone independent installation. So you can have multiple versions of Management Studio running concurrently. You can have
Thank you.
21 and 22 and 20 and 19 and 18 all together. I don't know necessarily why you would, but I guess if
That's a lot of memory on laptops, let me tell you.
yeah, although you don't have to have them all running at the same time. So I suppose it could be, boy, I really liked this experience, but it only works for SQL Server 2019 and earlier. So I'm just going to stick with that. And when I have to use a newer version, I will. I guess there are some people like that. I know that there are a lot of people who will say, I want to have two versions. I want to, at least for a little while. 21 is pretty solid. It's pretty stable at this point. I'll roll with 21. I'll have 22 installed. We'll try it out. If it has a disastrous outcome, then I'll switch back to 21 and I'll wait
Okay,
for some
so
patches.
can I ask you, Kevin and Amala, like, how about you? Like, me personally, I just upgraded R on my home machine, and I upgraded absolutely everything. Like, for me personally, like dbeaver or something we use quite a bit here, and we use PyCharm. I I always upgrade to the most current version.
Right, same here. I'd prefer if there was a choice.
I know there's use cases where, like, okay, well, I have a virtual machine and I'm a network administrator, and you have to use
Right.
right. But outside of that, I'm pretty vociferously like for current versions.
In general, yes. There are cases where I'm going to be a little bit more conservative, especially if there's a history of buggy releases. So, unfortunately, SQL Server 2019 and 2022, 2022 in particular, it kind of put me a little bit hesitant on saying go install 2025 when it comes out this week, assuming it comes out this week, which is a pretty solid assumption. Just because 2022 had enough problems with it that it upset me, because the old advice used to be, way back in the day, Pepperidge Farms remembers when the advice was wait until Service Pack 1 to install your newest version of SQL Server. And I know that there was a time. It was probably right around the 2016. It was like 2016 through 2019, where the Microsoft people were very proud of, hey, we're beating back that rumor, we're beating back the allegations, the SP1 allegations. And they did. And they got to the point where we're not releasing service packs anymore. We're just doing CUs. And hey, just install RTM because it's going to be good enough. And that was generally true for 2016, 2017, mostly for 2019, although it had some issues. But 2022 had enough issues that RTM was not good enough. They had CUs pulled. There was a CU that was pulled because of a disastrous bug. There have been several big issues that came out, and I think it has to do with the drop in testing quality. I know this is a few years back. This was probably about 2018 or so when Microsoft got rid of a bunch of testers and basically used, well, Azure is our test ground. Azure is our test playground, which works okay for some cases, but obviously not for everything because 19 had some issues, 22 had more issues, and they fixed the bugs. So this is not a development issue. This is more of a you're not catching stuff early enough. You're catching stuff after people find it in production and complain about it. And
Right.
unfortunately, now we're back to a point where, well, okay, there's no service pack, but wait for CU3 or CU5, and which is the
Well,
equivalent of wait for a service pack.
so I was watching something from Brent, and he was talking about Fabric, and made me real nervous because in my role, we're all in on Fabric, and it was like, well, they might make something new in 2 years, and
Do you like fabric, Mike?
I don't have an opinion yet. I'm still learning it. It's like me learning like Power BI security. So one of the things that I'm trying to learn is security.
Oh,
So
it's a
like if
lot of
you
things.
log in, like I'm making a dashboard for like 1,000 people. Yeah, let that set in. Yours truly, Mike from Shop Talk, is making an important dashboard. Um, yeah, so I'm working on like based on your net ID, etc. And so it's based on Fabric, but I also have to do dimensional modeling.
Hmm.
So yeah. So anyway, so I'm disrupting, but like you're talking about like version control, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, no,
some things work well, some things need testing.
right. And I'll get to your question, Ben, in just a moment. But Solomon snarks in and says, AI didn't fix the QA issue. All that money spent on AI and they can't have it test every scenario, etc. Well, the thing is, this is before the generative AI boom. This is before blockchain. This was like 3 hype cycles ago. They did it in 2018, and it was entirely, well, we're spending so much money on Azure and we have so many customers in Azure and we are releasing the features in Azure. So why do we have to spend all this extra money for on-premises testing? It'll just work in Azure and that'll be fine, right? And the answer is about what we've come up with. So it wasn't even trying to blame it on AI before we knew of their AI initiative. No, no, no. This is GPT technically was out, but this was before GPT-3. This was, I think GPT-2 had come out right around that time. I mean, we're talking about at that point, T5 wasn't even an model. It was Bert, Roberta, the Bert series were kind of top of the line for language modeling, and so it was not that level of hype at all. Um, Okay, so Ben asks, I'm currently running dbeaver for SQL Server work on my MacBook. Is there a good way to run SSMS on a Mac with parallels or similar? My understanding, and mind you, I don't have a Mac. I don't use Mac OS. I have no interest in Mac OS. Um, I go out of my way not to learn about Mac OS. All that said, my understanding is
He
no.
uses Linux to go around it.
Well, I mean, it won't run on Linux either. Um, it won't run on PC Linux. Linux running in Mac OS, BSD, which I mean Mac OS is very roundabout way. It's been very heavily modified from BSD, but that's a whole other thing. My understanding is no. The ARM 64 uh, processors, especially in newer MacBooks. Actually, let me rephrase this. If you have an Intel-based MacBook, the answer is maybe. I don't know for sure. If you have an ARM-based MacBook, the
Kevin,
answer
those
is
are so old.
yes, they are, but there are people who still have them. So if you have an ARM-based MacBook, the answer currently is no. SSMS 22 will support ARM 64 Windows, and people have been pushing hard because Visual Studio, my understanding is, now that they have ARM 64 support, that might support Mac OS. But currently, Management Studio does not support Mac OS,
So,
even in Parallels.
what does parallels mean?
Parallels is Windows emulation for Mac OS.
Gotcha. So, I'm only chiming in because I have like 1% of the Kevin knowledge, but I have been working on this like the last 2 weeks. So, we at Duke installed a new virtual environment. The virtual environment is Linux, and we are straight up mostly Windows AD authentication, and we part of the reason I joined the group was because we're transitioning from Oracle to SQL Server, and that for us personally, I mean, for us at Duke, Oracle is going to be end of life the end of this month. So we are frenetically doing many things. But one of the things that we've been doing is testing stuff in Linux, and we were able to connect to the database using Kerberos and by getting our SNL certificate authorized. Do you know what that is, Kevin?
Maybe.
It's I gotta look it up. It's in one of my emails.
Yeah, SNL sounds kind of weird. I
Not
have,
Saturday Night Live,
yeah,
me. I have it. We had to do a whole process with the DBAs.
just
Uh,
Saturday morning learning. Yep, something like that.
Wait, is that from the chat? I'm
That
not on
was that was from the
Twitter.
chat. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
guys.
SSL certificates. Yes.
No, not that. Um, I have it right here. Hold on one second. It's Felix. Yeah, Felix did it. Help me. Felix is Felix is like you. He's as smart as all get out.
So as Mike's looking that up, I will say I have done Kerberos authentication for SQL Server on Linux and connected to it from a Windows machine. It is not pleasant. It is not something that I happily want to work on. It's okay in a personal environment where you control everything, but just thinking about it in an environment where you don't control much of anything, you're the DBA, and you have to work closely with like three other teams to make sure that everything is working appropriately, or else it all falls apart and you get relatively little information to understand why. Has made me say, no. I'm going to pretend that I don't know how to do this, just in
Oh
case
my
somebody
God,
tries to rope me into
you're
it.
giving me trauma right now, Kevin, because that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah,
I had to like escalate a ticket. I had to get three teams involved.
yeah. And so Ben follows up, says AWS Workspaces or Windows 365. It is for SSMS, then I guess. Yeah, and if you want to use SSMS, yes. Visual Studio Code is going to be the multi-platform option for SQL Server connections.
Yes.
It used to be Azure Data Studio. Azure Data Studio was essentially a very heavy reskin of Visual Studio Code, and they are the SQL Server tools team is working heavily on getting VS Code's MS SQL extension up to the level that Azure Data Studio has been. And I would expect over time it will probably get to that point, and then eventually they will extend it out from there. But if you're looking at cross-platform, dbeaver, obviously, yes, you're using it currently, so you know that that does work. Visual Studio Code, I found, is reasonably solid most of the time. It's not going to be fantastic for very detailed database administration work. It is definitely more of a developer tool, kind of similar to where they positioned Azure Data Studio. Although Azure Data Studio felt like it was trying to be SSMS's little brother for DBAs, and then
Right.
the tool for developers. VS Code, I'm not even sure they're going to even go with little bro for DBAs, and basically just say, nah, if you're a DBA, go hang out with SSMS.
Not in Linux.
Not in Linux, no, because it's not going to run. SSMS has never run in Linux, even with Wine. The compatibility was just so bad that I've never gotten it to run well.
Yeah, exactly. So you and chat are nailing it. So we are so we as like there's when I say we within our group, we are transitioning to VS Code because VS Code is good, has good Git integration, and it's helping us with ETL is going to be one of our topics tonight. Um, it also helps us with that. Um, and when I help support my data science clients in the new Linux environment, which is the new Duke protected environment, it is Linux based. So we are did like I got a lot of help to get the to get the Kerberos authentication going, but it requires some command line stuff from a lot of our clients. And then what we're doing is Jupyter notebooks, VS Code, and R/R Studio. Those are the three that I'm supporting right now.
Yeah, those all make sense.
SSMS, nope, nope, sorry, not happening.
Right. I mean, that all makes sense, especially if you are going to be Linux heavy or working with data scientists. They're not going to spend a lot of time, hopefully, in SSMS. They might spend some, but they're going to be probably wanting to write Python code or R code or MATLAB code or SAS code or whatever it is they do on a
SAS
daily
was
basis.
the most recent call I just had. We have quite a few users. Um, I don't know, KTITL, KUTIL.
Yeah, kutil. Yeah, Kubernetes utility.
Yeah, been doing a lot of
Or
that
sorry, Kerberos
with
utility.
help. With help, Kevin and Mala. I am useless without help. I think you know that.
You heard it here first.
We are all depending on what we work on, Mike. It's not just you.
No, thank you, but
Yeah,
it's been wild. Anyway, yeah, Kevin, I interrupted, but for real, dbeaver, I love it. I use it all the time. I am going to put in a ticket to see if I can get it in the new environment. But most of my users are exactly what I just said. They're Python. They're Jupyter notebooks. They're VS Code, PyCharm. They're not doing what I do day to day.
Right. And Ben, yeah, VS Code definitely worth checking out, especially if you do non-database work. If you do any kind of app development, Python dev, .NET, Java may be a push language-wise. There are much better IDEs for that. But if you're doing .NET, Python, um, JavaScript, those types or TypeScript or working with React or whatever, VS Code is going to be a very popular IDE for any of that kind of work. So the Microsoft SQL Server side is one extension, but it's a nice IDE as a whole. So I
Do you
can
do,
highly
do you use
recommend it.
it for F sharp? I know you do F sharp a lot.
Yeah. I've used VS Code for F Sharp for a fair amount of F Sharp development. It works pretty well, although there are limitations in terms of maximum size a project can get before things start getting a little bit wonky with the open source compiler for it. All right. Second topic.
So, Kevin, you said there was a blog post on a SSMS 22 settings. Oh, this is the one. Okay, thank you.
This is
I
the
thought.
one. So yeah,
Mm,
this is Vlad Dramea. He
mhm,
had a post a few years back on SQL Server 2019, excuse me,
mhm.
SSMS 19 configuration. So we're going back a few years, and
Why is he 22 years old in that photo? Jeez. Sorry.
he the photo makes him look very young. Yes, but
Sorry.
I'm not gonna. I don't know. I forget if I've
Joke,
met Vlad in person before. So
yeah, jokes are holding up, um, you know, shop talk. So sorry. Keep going.
all right. So Vlad does have some recommendations if you are going to try out SSMS 22. Some ideas that will work pretty reasonably, and I'm glad he
Amen
picked
to
it.
the cool slate. So I'm a fan of cool slate. I like that.
Yeah, so Vlad is a
Um,
dark mode person. I am very much not. I found Cool Breeze which is I think the default, but Cool Breeze is pretty solid. I like the way that looks. Icy Mint is what Rob Farley was using last time around. There are several other built-in themes that are pretty okay. One thing that you will notice is the box in the bottom right corner tells you if it's a light mode or a dark mode based theme. So Bubblegum is light mode based, Cool Breeze is light mode, Cool Slate is dark mode based. uh, so you can kind of get a picture for what this is going to look like, your outer colors as well as if your main screens are going to be black or white. And one other thing to note is not all of the configuration options have been updated to the new style, the new Visual Studio style. So there are still callouts to the old style of configuration that we've had in SQL Server Management Studio since maybe even since 2005. Like this options section here, this menu is still pretty much the same as what we've seen forever. So some of those pieces are going to be the same, but the way you get to them is a little bit different. If you go to the options in Management Studio 22, you will see on the left hand side a collection of settings, and you can drill into like environment and more settings, and then there are links, and those links take you to the old style configuration option because this has not been fully baked into SSMS. My expectation is that over time, more of these console or optional elements are going to be brought into the configuration section of SSMS to make it a more seamless experience, or to make it a less seamful experience, I guess is the better way to put it. But
so
there are some. Go ahead,
one
Mala.
setting I have a doubt with, Kevin, which I've never used, but it seems to be here. He says set the number of rows for top whatever. Uh, how does that work? Does that mean that you don't have to say anything when you say top X, or wondering how
Oh
does
no,
that work?
no. So
Mm,
it is a little bit further down.
mhm,
So I'll get to that. I will explain exactly how that works in just a moment.
mm,
But
mhm.
he does point out things like you can turn on presenter mode, where presenter mode will make it easier for a presentation, make it a little bit easier for people who are trying to show off something and not have SSMS get in the way as much. The fact that results now expand like Azure Data Studio did, like Visual Studio Code does, is pretty nice. That's something that SSMS has missed out on forever.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Love that. Yeah.
yeah,
Because D Beaver kills that, and it always frustrates me in SMS.
right. So we've got that going for us. You can export your settings. There are some query shortcuts. I've used query shortcuts forever. I love these query shortcuts, and they are extremely helpful for quick one-off queries. Like I will do, Control 1 or Control F1 for various forms of SB who is active, because they were so common in when I was a database engineer that I would just run those all the time, and so I wanted to have that be a shortcut.
Oh, what?
Comment and uncomment lines is my favorite.
Which one?
Yeah,
Comment and
Oh
uncomment
yeah,
lines.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Comment on uncomment lines. Yeah.
Although,
And SQL. I can't
as
bring.
a data studio
I
does that
can't.
on its own.
I
Yeah.
can't bring up SQL Developer. You guys are gonna kill me.
yeah. So comment uncomment lines in SQL Server Management Studio, Control K, Control C, or Control K,
Mhm.
Control U, respectively. In
Hmm.
VS Code, you can do those as well, but you can also do Control slash, and that will
Yes.
either comment or
Right.
uncomment.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
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 So that is
Mahalo. You
across the
nailed it.
board. Um,
Uh, so SQL Shades was the thing I was going to bring up. So I had paid for SQL Shades because it was a developer that I don't know if they got acquired by Renegade. Anyway, SQL Shades was great, so I bought that. You know, it was $10. I mean, I don't know how much it was, but it was cheap and it was great. You had tons of options. You guys know what I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah. I've never used it, but yes, it is a set of themes for SQL Server
Yeah,
Management Studio
yeah,
for older versions. Now, 22, you may not need that anymore. It the themes are
right. It got Sherlock, I guess is the word.
something like that. Yes.
Like
Um,
I don't know. That's the micro. That's the Apple term, I guess.
ah,
Sorry, sorry,
all right.
sorry, Ken.
So we're talking tabs. Tab layout historically has been vertical, has been across the top bar. In Management Studio, you can now have it against the left bar, against the right bar, which works well if you've got one of those very widescreen monitors and you just want to, you can give up a little bit of space. If you have a fairly standard 16 by 9 monitor, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to do that, especially because later on he also turns on map mode for scrolling, which I think is a critical thing to turn on as well. So left bar tabs basically looks like this. And what is kind of nice about it is that it is definitely easier to read, especially as you have 20, 30, 40 tabs like I was wont to do. But I think you do want to have a very wide screen. Otherwise, you're losing too much horizontal real estate that you could be using for typing. And there are some other items through this list. Turning on line numbers for everything, I think, is good.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this version of SSMS, the default is for everything except for XML, it is now line numbers on, which is, I say, it's about time. I
Yes,
have gotten to be sick of having to tell people in calls, okay, you have this 9,000 line stored procedure. You're going to have to turn on line numbers so that we can have a communication. So we can say on line 2,460, I need you to scroll down to that and then type in this thing. Um,
yes.
it gets frustrating. So I'm glad that this is on by default.
You're preaching
There's,
to the choir. I deal with that every day.
yeah, apparently there's something where apply, cut, or copy to blank lines when there is no selection. Um, basically, if you do Control C in SSMS and you're not highlighting anything, it just clears out your clipboard. Which, okay,
What?
yeah, yeah, it just clears your
It's
clipboard.
terrible.
So there's an option to turn that off now. It is in languages general. Scroll bar map mode I mentioned, very useful. So this is something that is pretty well standardized on most Microsoft UIs, Visual Studio, VS Code, SSMS, Azure Data Studio. All of them had this option, and I highly recommend turning it on. The open transactions check was a neat idea, but it is so annoying. So you can turn that off. Notice that this is still the old style of options. So this is not something that's new to 22. It's actually it was in there before because
Why do you think that it's annoying? I fully agree with that, but it can help you sometimes if you just forget something. You think?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
if you
Mhm.
forget something, if you're using explicit transactions, yes.
Right.
But how often are you using explicit transactions?
I use it all the time.
Oh boy.
No,
I
that's
can't
fair.
bring up
Not for
the I
select.
can't bring
Then
up the
if I'm
word.
just doing querying, it's okay. If I'm really changing data, which is rare, changing data on production especially is rare, but it does happen. When I do that, I absolutely use transactions.
Yeah.
Mm,
I will say yes, but my
mm,
but on this is most places aren't using explicit transactions. And so, yes, if you are using explicit transactions, yeah, that can be useful. Um, most places aren't using it, and if you are disconnected, you are no longer able to access that instance. You have to wait for it to fail, for it to say, "Oh, well, I can't connect to this instance," and even
that I
see it.
agree can be annoying. Yes.
Yeah, and then if you have 20 tabs open, you're doing that
Mm-hmm.
20 separate times because what else are you gonna do? So that's why I turn it off and just control transactions better, I suppose.
Shut row count. I know Rob. That was one of Rob Walk's wicked tricks to
Yeah,
shut the row count, and person would be totally baffled what's going on.
yeah. Uh, Another setting here: retain carriage returns and line feeds on copy and save. So that's smart. This is how you prevent everything from pasting out as just one long line if you have longer strings. Again, it's been an SSMS for a long time. I recommend turning it on.
It's
And
not on by default because of
no,
2022.
no, it's not on by default. It's never been on by default. So that's why
Okay,
Vlad
okay. Well,
recommends
I'm
it.
new to it. Yeah, I've been. I get so defensive about the whole SQL developer situation. So thank you. This is good. This is good
Yep.
for me.
So the question that Mala had earlier was, "We'll drop the value of top in. What is this actually doing?" What this is doing is, if you right click, select into new window, by
Yes.
default it is top 1,000.
Yep.
This will
Or
change it to
edit
top
top
10.
2000. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will edit. So the top one is for edit. The second one is for select, and
Mm-hmm.
that's if you script something as select.
Mm-hmm.
It is not going
Oh,
to prevent
fair
you.
enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can still run top whatever you want. You just write
Yeah.
your own query. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're using the default right click and select from table, um, it will do 10. So this is also, not only is it right click script as select to, uh,
Mm-hmm.
actually I don't know if that one even does a top, but the right click, um, select top 1,000 or top in records, it's going to drop it down to 10. And benefit of that is obviously you're going to get back results faster. If you have extremely wide tables or tables with enormous amounts of data, then you're not going to have to wait and find out that you've made a mistake and you're now downloading like 10 gigabytes of data because they're storing 2 gigabyte images. They're storing ISOs in the database because they're monsters.
Can I? We're getting late. At 6:30. Can I ask you a question about this? Because I think between you and Molly, you might know this. So I have a lot of clients. So select top is new for a lot of my clients because of the transition that from the old word that I'm not going to say. I also one of the things that I do because I get kind of like ANSI ANSI centric. I do order by select null in parentheses offset fetch. Give me 10 rows. Do you think there's a difference between select 10 from or versus like offset fetch? Give me the first 10 rows.
Yes, there's definitely a difference.
You think that is the top is the top better?
Yeah, top is going to just start reading from whatever it needs to, and top is emit one row. You think of it as the a for loop that's processing, and once
Mhm.
you've hit those 10 rows, it says, "Okay, I'm done." Um,
Right.
Offset fetch, if you have an order by clause, and I know you said order by select null,
That's what I do. That the
I would have to
some,
check the execution plan. At best, it's the same execution plan. At worst, it might actually introduce a sort operator that can slow you down a little bit.
gotcha. All right.
Um,
Thank you. This is a big deal because I have a lot of stock scripts for my clients that are data scientists using R, and they have a lot of like select, star from whatever, and no way we're going to allow select star anymore.
well, and also for anybody who is used to writing SQL in Oracle, PLSQL, or in MySQL or something, just say limit, take limit from the bottom, move it to the top,
Right.
call it top. It's literally the same thing otherwise. Top 10,
Exactly.
limit 10.
Exactly.
No big deal.
Yep. You nailed it. Thank
Oh,
you. That's super helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. One other thing, splash screens. So this used to be a trick where you could make SSMS load faster back when it would take 30, 45 seconds to load. I say that wistfully because on my laptop, which is ridiculously overpowered, it takes like 2 minutes to load
Is this the
because
framework one?
no. My framework laptop's on Linux, so it has never used SSMS. No, this is work laptop where there's so much lockdown software that everything is slow. Like
Right.
they can take a wildly overpowered $4,000, $5,000 laptop and turn it into something that's slow. It's actually impressive to see how long it takes to boot up the machine, knowing that every other machine that I have in this house, I could like start them up one after the other, and then they would all be done by the time this thing is done. It's actually
Oh,
impressive.
wow.
This is actually a big deal because um, I don't know. We use Tanium. There's many other vendors, but like I have a virtual machine now that's Windows 11, and it is so slow that I installed, and I'm lucky I'm allowed to even do it. PC Manager. I like Glary but like I installed PC Manager because I can like make it like clear out the RAM so I can use more RAM. Because when you use Power BI in a VDI, a virtual computer, you're toast, man. It's gonna take everything.
Could be, yeah. But yeah, all you have to do is add no splash. This has been true for decades.
No splash.
So
Okay.
you put the target in quotation marks, you add minus no splash, and that will get rid of the splash screen. It used to be that could shave off 7 to 10 seconds, literally 7 to 10 seconds on loading time.
Really?
Back in the day, back in like
Wow.
2008, 2012, that era, it
That
could.
was very long time ago, Kevin.
It was, yes,
Mm.
but it worked for a while. The newest versions of SSMS do load a lot faster, but probably up until about 17 or 18, they had to spend considerable time making the load faster. So that no splash actually was a useful trick for a while. All right, one more thing on SSMS, and this is from Ed Elliott. So I'm gonna drop this link in chat. I think this also showed up in Brent Ozar's newsletter today. I'm not 100% positive, but this is showing up on Curated SQL tomorrow. And basically, one thing that Ed has noticed is that there are three risks with GitHub Copilot. So destructive commands, meaning, hey, delete this data. Sensitive or PII data being read or sent to GitHub or somewhere else, and prompts causing malicious code. So
What?
the deletion, I mean, that is a legitimate risk, uh, especially if you're not paying close attention. So the connection Copilot uses is read only, but there's no visibility here, and it is a risk for tools in general. Maybe not about this one in particular, but in general. Reading contents of table and sending that to a cloud. So Ed here doesn't have anything in specific, it looks like, because my understanding, I don't have a solid understanding exactly. I believe it will read metadata, but not data, um, and can write filters and such based off of description versus actually reading the data, sending the data up, and then having that be used. But I'm not positive. Um, Copilot, when looking at data, a table will read the data, and you can see it in chat how output is ran read from database, and then include the data in its memory. So uh, it will be in memory, yes. That kind of makes sense. But I
Your
don't
local
know.
memory, depending on like how much you got on your local machine. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupting. Sorry.
What do you mean?
Is this all cloud?
No, no. This is running in SQL Server Management Studio on your machine.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. With you.
So Ed injected a prompt into a form and then um,
Um,
generated some code here. And basically, I
is
don't
there a
know.
SQL injection?
Well, I mean, it's an injection based attack. It's really prompt injection, but similar concept. The whole idea of injection is that you cannot separate data from code,
Right.
and language models. We've talked about this before, but language models are a great way of reintroducing. Uh, you can't separate data from code. I'm interested in getting more information from about this. I don't know that there's actually a problem. I think some of this is Ed um, hypothesizing
Right.
and basically saying, "Hey, I'm not able to see and confirm for sure that this isn't happening." Uh, but I don't know for sure doesn't mean it is happening. So worth getting. It is worth having more insight, more visibility into this. But I also don't want to make it sound like go panic, everybody. This is awful.
Right. Well, there's one comment. You got to scroll down there. Oh,
There
it's
are no
empty.
comments.
It says one, but I guess it's empty.
Uh, oh, that's a discuss thing. I don't know, but no,
Yeah.
no comments so far.
I'm not. I'm, I'm just harassing you.
Okay,
Wow.
so next thing we want to talk about. This is something Mala wanted to talk about here, and that is ETL tools. And I will say I have my own thoughts on ETL tools, but that also I don't use them nearly as much anymore. So I do have this data camp article of ETL tools. I mean, they say the best ETL tools and why to choose them. It basically gets to the idea of ETL and ELT. There are different tools for the jobs, and there are a lot of these tools. As I go through lists, I think Apache Airflow, I probably would put that as number one myself. Airflow is extremely common for data engineers. It is Python based. It is ugly UI. It is pretty solid.
Uh,
Works well.
ugly versus what?
Well,
Not
ugly
that.
versus like Informatica versus SQL Server Integration Studio or services versus Azure Data Factory.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Um, but it works really well. So even Apache NiFi had, I think, a nicer UI than Airflow. NiFi was okay. So the tricky part that you get into pretty quick is there are a variety of different types of what we might consider ETL processes or ELT applications. Some of them are web services that you can work through. Some of them are very focused on specific types of data, like specifically, hey, I'm working on a data science analysis. And so that's where tools like Talend and the like do really well, or Alteryx does really well. Uh, but you wouldn't necessarily use Alteryx for general purpose ETL work. Maybe loading data warehouses on a regular basis. it's not necessarily the best tool for the job for that. And that's one of the tricky parts that we run into in terms of how to do ETL. Like Databricks Delta Live Tables. So this is an ETL framework built on Spark for automating data pipelines, but I don't think I would use this as a general purpose ETL tool. So it's interesting idea, works really well for loading data into an Databricks, but I'm not sure that you could use it for loading out into other sources. And if you can, I'm not sure what the limits are. Some of this is I'm just not sure. I'm not familiar enough with many of these tools. Like I'd never heard of portable.io.
I
I've
was
never
gonna say
used.
you know a lot about Databricks. I mean, you come
Yeah,
talk.
but it's been a while. It's been a while since I've used it regularly. So a lot of the information that I have is kind of old. Um, but Infosphere, data store, data stage. I've
That
heard.
is what we had at Duke, and we got off of it because it was so expensive.
I can imagine. Yeah, IBM tooling going to be expensive. Oracle
Really,
Data Integrator. Speaking of expensive,
ugh. There's a
SSIS.
whole yeah. Sorry.
SSIS, the tool that hasn't been really updated in 15 years, um, 13 years. SQL Server 2012 was the last time that SSIS had a significant update that was going to be useful for a lot of people.
Can I ask you
Six,
a question about this? I know it's getting late. You got to pay for that, right?
yes, SQL Server Integration Services comes with SQL Server. So any machine that is running SSIS must be licensed for SQL Server.
And is it like a seat license? Because so
No, it's an
one of
install
the things
license.
was that
It's an install license. So if you install it on a machine, that means that that machine has to be licensed for SQL Server, regardless of whether the database engine is installed on there or not. You can have 1,000 people using it.
are you serious?
100% serious.
Yeah, that's how it's always been, my.
Yep. Unless you have CALs. If you're using CAL licensing, the which is seat licensing, and which Microsoft has been trying to push people off of since like 2012. Um, if you still have client licenses, there may be a limit, yes, but for pretty much any deal that Microsoft is trying to make in the past decade, they're pushing you toward core based licensing. And if you buy a 4 core pack of SQL Server, standard edition, enterprise edition, doesn't matter, you can install integration services on that machine. Now, if you have one server running SQL Server and it has 4 cores, and you have SSIS on a different machine, both machines have to be licensed. You need to have two separate uh, 4 core plus packs of SQL Server to run those. But if you do, yeah, you can have 10,000 people accessing that integration services instance. You can have them, or that integration services hosted server. You can have them deploying, running jobs all day, and licensing is absolutely fine there.
All right, so I'll take this offline. So one of the things that's going on with us is one of our top developers has created a process where was essentially we like do SQL agent, create a batch job, Python, Git runner, run it. It goes into like mm, the development environment, and then it has to get promoted by somebody. And when I went through the process, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I just have learned so much from Mala and you and the rest of the team. I was just like, why are we doing this? And like, not to be a jerk, I'm just like, why will we do like 9 extra steps to schedule jobs? Because SSIS can do that. So anyway, I'll talk to folks here like in a non-threatening way. Like, I think that's good feedback because
Yeah,
it's the process that we have created um, is bonkers, and it involves batch files. I don't know when the last time you used a batch file was, but probably a long time ago.
I wish it was longer ago. No, I've used batch
You
files
like
myself,
yesterday.
unfortunately. But as we go through down through here, there's a lot. And
Oh,
So
Hadoop.
my issue with SSIS, my 2 cents, is that so far it's among my favorite ETL tools. Maybe because I learned it, and I like SSIS. Problem is that Microsoft has not touched it in years.
Hmm.
Second is that for everything that's non-Microsoft, you need a third-party driver.
yep,
They're not expensive, but depending on whatever the purchasing process is where you work, ours is worse than root canal. It doesn't matter how much money you're asking. That's not the point. But they will go through everything, like every line, every word of fine print, and find something there that is objectionable. And then a long long debate with the vendor, and for a trivial $100 they would be arguing, like wasting people's time. That's about 100 times that cost. uh,
Right.
and you can't keep doing that for every for the more number of data sources you have, the more number of times you have to do that. And sometimes you don't even know if those vendors are going to be around, or how reliable the driver is, or nothing.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
and yeah.
all of that made it like, now it's pretty much whatever code that was written when Kevin was around in those days, that is on SSIS. That's all. We moved away because of this hassle. Very hard. More of non Microsoft products we use. It doesn't lend itself to that very easily.
Right.
Yeah.
true. And there are third-party driver companies like CData who sponsor SQL Saturday Raleigh, so I will call them out. They have had
Right.
some good drivers over the years, but yeah, if your purchasing process is that painful, when you start
Mhm.
saying how many billable hours did you legal folks actually put into this, and if you look at your bill rate versus the cost of the product, at what point does that swamp the cost of the product? Like if it costs 15 to 20 times the amount to vet as it does to purchase,
Mhm.
why are you doing that? It's just
So, so I mean, I can't. I mean, I've learned some IT and programming, and you guys have increased my skills. But I really came from a financial analysis background, and so I'm like, you're going to pay people. I'm making up a number, $50 an hour. Uh, you're going to pay 20 developers $50 an hour to like create this really complicated process instead of just letting us use SSIS. Like that sounds foolish to me as a
sure,
business person.
sure, and that often comes out to be the case because burden rate for developers gets ignored because developers, they're fixed cost, their salary. We've already paid that amount. So thinking about marginal opportunities, thinking about opportunity cost, not it's harder. It's something that people don't tend to do as much. Um,
Well, and
AW,
in our environment, yeah, in our environment, it's pretty strict. Like like some of us work on research projects, and we're we're like internal consultants for projects, and we have to bill. We almost like Deloitte, like we like bill our clients,
mhm,
right? So yeah, sorry, I'm off topic, but
it's all right.
I'm I'm gonna have some discussions in a very productive way with some of my colleagues who have been to SQL Saturday and respect it. And I'm gonna say like, what the heck are we doing? In a nice way.
All right. So lightning round because we are near the top of the hour. Um,
Sorry.
AWS Glue is AWS's ETL service. It's built on top of Spark. It is actually, I think it is surprisingly difficult to learn. They may have made it a lot easier over time. When I tried to do things with Glue, I had a lot more pain than I expected to have. AWS pipelines, they're okay. They're a little bit easier, but Azure Data Factory has gotten better as well. The old version of Data Factory from several years ago wasn't great. This has gotten better. The main problem I have with Microsoft and Data Factory is that they have 4 or 5 different versions of Data Factory, and they're all different code bases that offer different sets of features. So the data factory that you have in Azure Data Factory is different from Fabric Data Factory, is different from Synapse Data Factory, is different from whatever other data factories that I'm missing off the top of my head. And they all are based off of the same code, but they don't have the same patches. They don't have the same support. They don't have the same options or capabilities. And so you have to learn the nuances of each one, which I think is dumb. Google has their own, and then you scroll down, and there's more and more. And there are literally dozens of these products, many of which I've never used. Informatica shows up down here. Informatica,
Informatica, that
yeah,
is old school.
it is old school. They have improved it considerably over
I'm
the
not saying it's
years.
bad. It's just
Oh
like
yeah,
like SAP. Like the SAP has some good technologies that you might be mad
yeah.
about, but
What
they
I
have
will
some
say
good
is
tech.
when my first real technical job, post college, post undergrad, I worked at an insurance company that was using Informatica for its ETL processing. So kind of gives you an idea of how long that thing's been around. And then
Yeah,
there's
and
some
your
other ones.
company had money because it's not cheap.
Fivetran. I have something to say on Fivetran.
Go for it, Mala.
I think it's the most overrated POS ever.
All right, go for it.
So,
Whoa, we're coming from the heat, Mala. Nice.
no, it's really expensive, frightfully expensive. It has a nice, relatively simple GUI, which developers love because they just need to click around here and there and set it up, and
Real soft touch.
it's done. It does not allow any transforms for that kind of money. It's just a straight dump. Whatever you select into whatever. One straight dump. No transforms. Which is what annoys the heck out of me, is that you're charging so much money. And I
Right.
can't even do a simple thing. I cannot convert a number to a character if I want to. Not even that much.
Really?
Nope. I can't.
That's
And
pretty
No,
wild.
Snowflake, I know Snowflake charges an arm and a leg.
nothing. And you can't allow any kind of a view or a query as an input. It's a straight table. It has to be a physical table. That's all it takes. Nothing
Holy
else.
cow, that's terrible.
And a lot of money. We've been using this for some time. The only reason it's around, in my opinion, is because developers love it.
Ah, that sounds about right.
It's very easy for them to set up stuff compared to Airflow. I like Airflow. It's
Yeah,
hard.
airflow is
It's
pretty
hard.
awesome.
It's hard to learn, but you can do a lot of things with it.
If I ever get extra
Yeah.
time, I'm gonna do some Apache stuff.
Right.
If I
Right.
if
Like.
I have the skill and time, I would help Apache. Honestly,
All right. Well,
So,
that's going to do it. Now that everybody's had a chance to rant tonight, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of Shop Talk. There is no user group meeting tomorrow because past summit. So we'll see each other in 2 weeks. We'll have Shop Talk, and then we'll have one more advanced DBA meeting for the end of the year, as well as one in-person meeting in December to cap it all off. So until we do see each other at a future user group meeting or another episode of Shop Talk, everybody, take care.
good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.